wants me to throw his ball. Why am I doing this outside? Well. Hello everybody. Kaifa haluk, ça va? Wie geht's? Whatever languages are out there. There's a few more. I guess I'm gonna give you guys a quick little update on some things before continuing on into the project, the topic. And my dog's gonna continually bring his ball, so there's gonna be a lot of distractions. We found a place. Josiah Riley and I finally found a place. I'm gonna show you guys once we get there. We're gonna be signing the lease papers tomorrow. Pretty excited about that. Oh, and I was requested and asked about this a lot. If I had a Patreon account or just something about like supporting me in such a way. And I never really had that. That wasn't my intent of this channel to have something like that, but several people asked about it, so I'm just like, okay, well, might as well look into it. So I made a Patreon account down below, but it's not going to be as intricate as like other YouTubers, so feel free if you want to support me in that way. You can do so, but there's also another way you can support me is you can buy an album that I made, like with all my music on it, so you can at least get something back. I always feel bad for people to like have a monthly subscription to a channel that, I don't know, they're giving money that they're not necessarily getting something in return. I guess these wonderful videos. This one's gonna be a long one, I just know it, so brace for it. So links in the description are to my Patreon account and my album if you wish to buy it and support me that way. I mean, yeah, I guess I am wanting to save up for some film equipment, and that's not cheap, and I'm trying the best I can to, you know, work for it and whatnot. But hey, donations are always welcome. So the topic at hand is, I like to call, just recently, the INTP FE explosion. I got to talk to a couple people about this, and I was actually asked about, like, what do you do when the FE explodes? And I have to be honest, I never really understood about this, like, FE, SI, ISI, stuff. I just went into Myers-Briggs kind of just with the simple INTP, and then I started learning there's this extroverted sensing, introverted, I'm like, wow, there's a whole nother world I didn't know about. And then I also got to talk to an INTP about their struggles as well, so it was just nice to be able to talk with them and find out, hey, there are other people that have this kind of struggle. So what about this FE explosion about the INTP? So INTPs, we can be alone for a long while. When I was in high school, I didn't care to go to football games, didn't care to do all those people things necessarily. I far preferred to stay home and learn Blender and music and other actually interesting things. And sometimes I loved, but when I actually did go out with my friends, I really did enjoy it. Things like concerts, or like, concerts, but also at school, like orchestral concerts when I played the violin and whatnot, and I really enjoyed having those interactions. And whenever I would have a really like high intense moment, really a high intense day or whatever, or like from a concert, the next day would feel like a slump, because it would be like I'm experiencing this really high intense emotional feeling, and then I would dive down and feel like I'm hitting this rock bottom, and I just kind of feel awkward for the rest of that next day if there isn't anything to kind of slow down that pace, like, hey, be able to process it with a friend that was in that same event that we were a part of. So what is the FE explosion, you ask? It's a really dark time for the INTP. There we go. It comes from, there's several different avenues. It's when INTPs are not necessarily getting what they need to thrive as a person, and eventually they go into this very dark slump. And even though we're introverts, we really do actually need that personal connection with people. And once that starts to kind of get separated, we can become more and more susceptible to falling into this darker slump more often. And during this slump, you end up finding yourself believing that everything is pointless. You can go one direction or the other and it won't even matter. You could you kind of recognize the emptiness in the situation that you're in, and you lose faith in what you have been enjoying for all this time. All the like fun ideas that you have no longer mean anything to you, and they no longer kind of have that power to keep you going forward. But it's because you're missing something crucial for you as a person that you're not getting. And so for me, whenever I find myself separated from people and kind of recognize, oh hey, friendships are kind of difficult nowadays, because one, I'm kind of out of sync. I go to college and everyone else is like 3, 4, 5 years younger than I am. They're just starting the college experience and they're all excited about it, but I didn't go through college the normal way. I went through like a trade school and then I went to college, and so it kind of just puts me on a weird a juxtaposition to where people are in their life. A lot of the friends I did have, they dissipated into another ways of life, how they prefer to do life. So I got replaced by drugs, basically, by one friend of mine, and some other friends, they're chasing things I just can't be a part of in a very intimate way. Like, we can be shallow friends, but at one point in time we were very deep friends, and shared very intimate things with each other and talked and shared time with each other. But we can no longer experience that kind of friendship anymore because of the route that they decided to take. And so it can be really difficult when you get to this darker place, when you recognize that, oh hey, I really am kind of alone now. We can always like hang out, them and I, but very few people can actually understand kind of more deeper resonances that I've just based on personal belief. And I guess for other Christian INTPs might understand what I'm trying to say, very few other people are going to understand the position you are in, and you can no longer share that with other people. When you were younger, it didn't matter. When you were younger, all it mattered was how much fun you had, chasing frogs or snakes or fishing or kind of the simple things in life, because your reality was built off of those things. But then as you grew older, what you believed actually mattered now, and it starts to separate you and define you and redefine you or refine you into the person who you are. But the problem is, when some of my friends had those realizations of the trail that they really wanted to go to, they ended up going this other direction that I just could not follow unless I sacrificed certain things that I believed, which I knew if I were to sacrifice those things, X, Y, and Z would happen afterward, because you see it happen to other people that sacrifice the same things, and then I would have to deal with years of crap, or have to resharpen myself as an individual and whatnot. I know that's kind of cryptic, but to other INTP Christians, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. And so in those darker moments, I get to realizing kind of that darker place that, wow, I actually am really separated and alone. And then from there, every ambition that you have is pointless. You can, all your creativity is for naught, and you don't matter. You could try to jump one direction or the other, and it just won't get anywhere, because you kind of feel like that even when you're not in that darker slump, but you believe in what you're trying to do, so you're willing to, fight through the impossibilities a little bit more. But if you don't have that support group or that friendship, then you end up finding yourself getting drained a little bit faster. And so this past year I've been finding myself in those slumps, emotional slumps even more, and just kind of thinking that everything I do is pointless. And so I kind of, I guess, came off of one of those slumps recently, I guess like a week ago or so, and just kind of I just kind of lay in bed. I sleep on the floor, but why do I sleep on the floor? I don't know. INTP problems. Laying in bed, but I don't want to go to sleep. because I want to be able to accomplish something and feel successful in what I'm doing, but I don't want to do anything because I'm just too strung out in my own like depression that I don't really want to do anything. But it's also because it's 11 or 12 at night, so you can't really do anything, so you just kind of keep refreshing whatever page you're looking at, or just staring off in the distance and just hoping something happens, some magical potion just kind of lands out of the sky. And so it's really hard to actually, go to sleep, because I'm not going to sleep confident that people are there, supporting me. And I know you guys are very supportive, but it's very different between internet support and personal support. Like, we all need that actual personal engagement. And so when when we don't have those, and when I'm going to sleep, I don't feel confident in what I'm doing. I don't feel like what I'm doing matters. And then I also recognize that there isn't that kind of support group behind, like standing behind me. And it doesn't mean like standing behind me with like what I do, but just like, hey, that just are friends and are supportive and are friendly, and I can also support them, and kind of wanting to figure out how to support their dreams and goals and stuff like that, and just kind of have that nice good cycle happening between friends. And so it can be really difficult to fall asleep and stuff like that. And then during the day, like, I would go on these really, really long board rides or walks, and just kind of find myself staring off into the distance, as people are staring at me now as I'm looking into a wall, talking to myself. And of course, they want to stop and stare, be like, what is that guy doing? Move along. So yeah, I'll be taking really long walks, and I might sit somewhere and just kind of reflect and just kind of be in this state of emptiness and hoping that something happens, because something, or just for something to click, for me to feel something, because I'm feeling completely numb and pointless and all that. And so that's where I start to do a lot of self-reflecting and kind of soul-searching and kind of decompressing my life in its exact moment. Oh, hello there. And hoping that I can kind of get some new wind under my sails. It doesn't happen, very much all the time, very often, but, well, no, actually, I guess that's kind of a lie. So whenever I do go on these long, epic, soul-searching adventures, as a Christian INTP, there's always an individual that you can communicate with and process these emotions. And every time, God has shown himself to me during those dark moments in very unique and cool ways. Each time I go into one of those darker slumps, I do come out of it with something. Like, I do gain something. I do gain a certain kind of self-awareness, some kind of goal that I can finally find myself passionate about again, or recognizing certain things about people, or just putting dots together, or finally like piecing the puzzle together during those deep self-reflecting moments, because I'm rewiring my whole entire life basically in those darker times when I'm on these walks. But I would just kind of sit and stare and hope that something finally hits, because it's all empty now. And but at least when I go on these really, really long walks, like I go barefoot, they're painful in a way. There's bugs biting me. It's stimulus. Like, I need the stimulus to kind of to make me recognize, like, okay, I'm still awake, I'm still alive. And it forces me to start getting the brain moving and thinking and whatnot. And it really, walking and stuff is nice and all, but it's more about the processing with the divine creator himself, that makes it worthwhile and pulls me out of that depressive slump. And during the slump, I find myself emotionally separating my being from other people because I'm just not in a place to like emotionally handle the situation around me. I think someone's home. Oh, nope. He's to poop. Because like I don't know if other INTPs have this. It may not be every INTP, but like people approach you with a certain kind of presence. They approach you with a certain kind of presence, and so for me, I need to equally match their presence in order to really function with them, and I kind of image and mirror their needs, so that I can connect with them the best I can. And some people have a greater presence, and some people have a smaller presence. And so when I'm in these emotional deep slumps, I just cannot bring myself to match anyone's presence, and so I end up kind of needing to cut ties and stuff for a little bit. Allow myself to like really process the world around me, and also in these darker moments, like certain temptational struggles flare up because I'm no longer able to be fulfilled in just kind of the typical things that I need, or like the fundamental things that I need. And I just kind of find myself being more vulnerable to just anything, to allow for people to just to feel that kind of connection. And so I have to, that's one of the reasons why I go on those long walks, is to keep me from just making any just dumb decision or whatnot, and just kind of get myself completely separated from people so that I can rise out of the slump without being ashamed or guilty of something. During these really dark times, I'm reminded of all the past enjoyments that I once had with like people and like just those settings. So like for me personally, it would be summer evenings and just nice summer days and adventures and things like that. But like those nice memories no longer become nice memories, they become haunting memories, and they taunt me in a way, like saying that you once had this really once had this beautiful time in your life, and it haunts me, saying that you'll never have this kind of feeling again. It's gone, and you'll never go back to this kind of friendship, never go back to this kind of beautiful feeling. It's over. And so instead of them being fond memories, they end up being haunting memories, and they like to mock me during those darker slumps. And so it's everything that I'm around always reminds me of those times, and so that's another reason why I have to separate and go somewhere else, because everything that I'm around reminds me of these better times. Smells too reminds me of these better times, and so it traps me from being able to accurately process things and to finally get out of the slump. So how exactly do you get yourself out of the slump? I'm going to be honest, we live in a world when these things are just going to happen. When you're in the slump, you're in the slump. You have to ride it through. Now what matters is what you're doing outside the slump. What are you doing to prevent yourself from going into these struggles? Do you recognize that you need people in your life? Like right now, I know that I need people in my life, and I've just been away from people interaction. I don't want shallow relationships. I don't want to go to the bar. I don't want to necessarily go to concerts, though I mean I may not mind it, and I really haven't been to church in a year, so like all of my normal structures I used to have for friendships are kind of gone, and I'm I guess a little reluctant to go to certain factions where I know that you're going to typically find certain kinds of people that I'm sorry, I don't want to, go to those kinds of people groups, because those are not the kind of people I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that I can actually have a solid, deep, foundational relationship with. And that means we have to be on the same page. That's kind of another thing. When I'm in the slump, it makes me not willing to accept people's ignorance of their fallen nature. And so it can make me kind of harsh, I guess. Well, I may seem harsh, but really I'm just kind of a dead robot, just like laying there. But yeah, what can you do to prevent it? So yeah, that's what I'm hopefully gonna be doing soon, is just kind of getting myself in people, groups, community, kind of rebuilding those friendships. I'm embracing a whole new stage in life, and hoping that I can make new friends and charge after new dreams and ambitions, writing a book, trying to get that finished, and doing well at my job, and just things like that. Yeah, because like the biggest thing I recognize is that if I'm not pouring into someone, and if someone's not pouring into me, I find myself in these slumps far more. And yeah, sometimes even like recognizing like I'm still single, and just kind of, but it's more than that. It's the something's in the water, and relationships are not as attainable as they once were. I had these like freshmen in high school girls hitting on me, and I was just like, crap, y'all are in high school probably, aren't you? So I talk with them, and because again, I can't tell if they're what age anyone is anymore, unless you're obviously older, obviously younger. And so it's like, yeah, and you're in high school, where are the people that are my age? Where do they hang out? Problem is, people my age, they have so many personal issues most of the time now that they're trying to figure out in their life, which makes them kind of hardened and bitter, and they're no longer vulnerable. Like they put up these big walls and justify their insecure influenced actions. And so that kind of separates me. So it's more than just being single, it's recognizing that there's something in the culture that's torturing young men, young women. And so it makes it even more difficult, and recognizing that difficulty and trying to find people that have been fighting against the struggles that this culture has been pushing on all of us. And so yeah, so once you're actually in the slump, it depends how well you've strengthened yourself outside the slump, because they're gonna always come. Even if like let's say I have all the friends in the world, and it's like, well, if everything was perfect, we would never be in this situation. But if I have a good friend support, and whatnot, and beautiful days and whatever, and hanging out and having good memories, they'll still come, just in different ways for different reasons. But if you strengthen yourself during the time outside of that slump, those slumps become a little shorter, and you are armored when you go into it, so that when you come out of it, blameless and ready to charge on, and to walk the barren road a little longer. And so I guess really know what you believe, charge after it. If it's not true, drop it. Your life is too short to believe in something that's not true and that does not sustain you. Have it prove itself to you. If you prove in a different religion, or not religion at all, or whatever you choose to believe, like, see if it actually sustains you in some way. I mean, for me personally, yes, like consistently, God has been in those moments when I've been in my darkest moments. And so through that and other situations, he's just been consistent. And so I'm just like, people can say, how can you believe in God? I'm like, how can you believe that my mother exists? She's right over there, you know? And when people are like, how can you believe that God exists? So in my mind, it's kind of like in the same reality, because he's been consistent to me. But so that's what I would say is, like, during both in the slump and outside the slump, really solidify what you truly believe. Surround yourself with people. Even if we're introverts, we do need that kind of people investment. You need to pour into somebody. Someone needs to pour into you. be open to one another. Just confess things to people. Just be open and vulnerable. Find out what things are in your life that are motivating you to be the kind of person you are. If it's bad, find a way to kill it. If it's good, find a way to like bring that up and to pour it into someone else. So I hope this was helpful or useful to other people, other INTPs that might find themselves in the depressive slump. Just kind of sharing how I feel. I don't know if it's like anything else what other people might experience. Though I would really like to hear what you guys think and what you guys feel when you're in these deeper slumps. And if you're another personality type, do you find any commonalities, any common struggles you might face? If you are an INTP, what are other things that you might find yourself struggling with when you're in these darker slumps, or what pushes you in these darker slumps? I'd like to hear about it. Let me know in the comment section below. And if you are struggling with anything, I guess you can either email me, erictheintp@gmail.com, or I guess you can put in the comment section below if you feel okay about doing that. And other people, if you find other people posting that, uplift them, talk to them, give them some encouragement to them. So that'll be really good. So yeah, that's about it. I'm excited to show you guys the new place. We're signing the papers tomorrow, and we'll be moving in hopefully Friday or Saturday. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I'll see you guys in another video, another life. Be awesome. And I'll press the button.